Have you ever looked at a bottle of sunflower oil on the grocery store shelf and really thought about how it got there? It all starts in a field of those beautiful yellow flowers and ends up as something we use in our kitchens almost every day.
So how in the world does a massive golden field of sunflowers somehow transform into that clear, everyday oil in your pantry? So let's dive right in and see exactly how it's done. Okay, so our story doesn't start in some sterile factory. Nope, it begins right out there in the field, where everything, and I mean everything, depends on the life cycle of the sunflower itself. You know, when it comes to the harvest, timing is absolutely everything. Farmers are watching for that moment in late summer when the flower heads get all heavy and start to droop. That's the signal. They have to wait for the seeds to harden up just right and for the moisture to drop to a specific level. Then it's go time. These enormous combine harvesters roll through, cutting the stalks and shaking the seeds loose. So once those truckloads of seeds arrive at the factory, you might think they're ready to be pressed. Not so fast. Before any oil gets squeezed out, they have to go through this really intense prep phase to make sure the final product is as pure and high quality as possible.
The seeds basically have to run a three-step cleaning gauntlet. First up, they get shaken on these huge vibrating screens to get rid of the big stuff, stems, leaves, that kind of thing. Next, a clever mix of gravity and jets of air separates out any little stones or other lightweight bits. And for the grand finale, powerful magnets pull out any stray bits of metal that could seriously damage the expensive machinery down the line. It's a super thorough process to get them perfectly clean. After cleaning comes a step called dehulling. It's pretty much what it sounds like. The process of cracking open that tough outer shell to get to the good stuff inside, the kernel, which is where all the oil is. And there's a really good reason for doing this. See, the hulls themselves have almost no oil, so getting rid of them right away makes the whole extraction process way more efficient. All right, now we're getting to the real heart of the operation, physically getting that oil out of the seeds. And in any big modern factory, there are really two main ways they go about this. So the first method is exactly what it sounds like, mechanical pressing. They feed the meal into this giant screw press that uses an insane amount of pressure to literally squeeze the oil out. This gets a good amount of the oil for sure, but not all of it. So to get every last drop, factories use something called solvent extraction. The leftover stuff, called press cake, is washed with a special solvent that dissolves all the remaining oil. It's a chemical trick, but wow, is it effective.
So, just how effective is that 1-2 punch? Well, when you combine the power of mechanical pressing with the finesse of solvent extraction, factories can recover a staggering 99% of all the available oil in the seeds. I mean, that's incredible. Almost nothing is wasted. But all that efficiency doesn't exactly give you a pretty product right away. The liquid that comes out at this stage is, well, it's a long way from what we buy in the store. This quote really nails it. It's crude oil, dark, thick, and full of all kinds of gunk. This is the raw material that now needs a serious cleanup.
And that brings us to the most scientific part of the entire journey, refining. This is where that crude oil goes through a whole series of complex treatments to get rid of all those impurities, make it last longer on the shelf, and, actually make it something you'd want to eat.
After all that intense cleaning, the oil is finally ready.
So there you have it. From a sun-drenched field all the way to your kitchen, the journey of sunflower oil is this amazing blend of agricultural know-how, raw mechanical power, and precise chemistry. It's a seriously high-tech process that turns a simple little seed into a massive global commodity.